in neutral?
I don't know. How will I know?
Did you press the button?
I pressed the button.
Well, that puts it into neutral.
Oh, so don't press the button.
Don't press the button.
Oh.
There we go. Now we're in there. Oh, there we go.
It's not very fast.
No, well, I don't think fast is what we want at the moment, is it?
It's like driving a really slow car.
The very slow car was, in fact, a boat that had been lent to us by a viewer. Thanks, Ed. We would be commandeering it for the next 4 days and cruising along the River Thames, starting at Abingdon, which is about 10 miles south of Oxford. We cruised south towards London and soon came to our first lock, which was quite different to a canal lock, and we didn't really have a clue what we were doing.
Alright, okay. Jump on. Alright. Go on.
Things were not helped by the very unfriendly lockkeeper.
And he's said to you, you're acting like this is your first day out.
Actually, it is on this boat.
And if this had been your first day out and that's your very first experience, you're not going to want to come back.
Exactly.
The locks on the Thames are all staffed by lockkeepers, which is very unusual on the canals, and they have different operating procedures too. We were sure that the bad experience would be a one-off and tried to forget about it as we continued our cruise and tried to get used to steering a boat from the front as well as with a wheel. It was very different from a narrow boat. Oh look! In no time we were at the next lock. Neither of us realised there would be so many locks on the Thames, but there are loads. David steered us in with no trouble and we waited patiently for the water level to drop.
I am absolutely roasting.
What?
Yeah, it's boiling. Are you not hot? It's very different so far from what I was expecting.
Is it?
Yeah, like, I didn't really think about the fact that both sides would be private, like there wouldn't be a tow path or anything like that. And people are just not as friendly.
They're not waving.
Like, even there was a kid there and it didn't wave. And the other boats going past are not waving. A couple of them have been really grumpy. There we go, nice wave.
Here we are at the next lock. So far, our Thames experience has been mixed. Some lovely scenery, some lovely people, some moody people. But overall it's great to be out on the water and having new experiences.
It's getting to that time of day where we're beginning to get mooring anxiety.
Well, you see, on the canal you don't really have a problem because you can moor up anywhere on the towpath side of the canal. But on the rivers, either side of the canal is by and large privately owned and you can't just stop anywhere. You can only stop on official moorings or places where you might get away with it that someone doesn't notice you. And we've been past a couple of spots that were marked in the book as moorings that didn't actually seem to be moorings. And we just have visions of going on forever, never ever until we come out of the Thames at London and never finding a mooring.
Get in there. Go on. Go on, go on. Don't try. There is no try.
There's only do. I don't know how shallow it is.
We'll find out, won't we?
We found out that it was far too shallow, so on we continued. Soon enough we found the perfect place to stop for the night, alongside a nature reserve near the village of Goring. Good night. Morning. This is where we moored last night, in this field. I'm gonna go for a little run, have some breakfast, and then we'll set off for the day.
Put that there. Don't go anywhere.
After my little run and some breakfast, we set off for the day. We moored overnight just before a lock, and as we got out to tie the boat off, it was already beginning to rain. We would be very grateful today for the inside steering position. That was the first lock of the day, Cleve Lock, and I think we've got another one coming up fairly soon, Goring Lock. I still cannot get used to that steering.
It's very vague. You don't really quite know where you're pointing the tiller at all, the rudder. I just checked. I was supposed to go up this side of this, wasn't I?
I hope so.
Chatting to you.
I hope so.
Not looking at the signs, and the river has just split. But there's other boats up ahead, so...
Worst comes to the worst, we'll turn around.
Right, there's another lock up ahead, which a boat's just come out of.
So you must have been in the right direction then.
Yeah, I think it's just a bit of random greenery.
Okay. That there was Scholar Gypsy, a very famous narrowboat after appearing in one of David's recent videos. Of course David is filming our trip too for his channel, and I've left a link to his video in the description. So one of the main criteria that I had for building my new boat was that I wanted all portholes. I didn't want any big windows because I said when I'm inside I like to be inside, and when I'm outside I like to be outside. And with narrowboating you do all of your steering and you're cruising from the outside. However, one of the things that I really like about this boat is that I'm inside now on the sofa with carpet under my feet, and we're cruising as well. David's literally right next to me doing the driving, and it's going to come in very handy later today when it starts raining. We can just be sat inside. So yeah, maybe I'm reconsidering. How cool is this? You don't get windscreen wipers on narrowboats. Whitchurch Lock, here we come. Normal service has resumed. That lockkeeper was an absolute prick as well.
He was a bit grumpy, wasn't he?
Yeah. It's not called driving, it's called helming. You should get better ropes.
That's what he said?
Yeah.
And he called you love.
Yes, he did. You stop it there, love. Cheeky so-and-so. Either side of the island. It's just a big bush. Did you say this is Poplar Island? I had a final mooring spot in mind for today, but our tummies were definitely telling us it was time to stop for lunch. So the hunt for a place to moor began. I always get anxiety when I see a really, really good empty mooring space and I think, well, why has nobody else stopped there? There's a footpath there. It's definitely a public path. Let's go for it. This seemed like a nice place to stop briefly. It was right on the Thames path, which is a long-distance footpath that follows the Thames for 185 miles. I think I'll walk the length of it sometime. Whilst we're moored up, I'll give you a tour of the boat. Please excuse my mess. I really should film these things at the start of a trip. Anyway, that's the saloon at the front of the boat. The steering position is at the front as well. The boat was 35 foot long. I can't remember how wide she is, but wider than a 6-foot narrowboat for sure. Then you've got the galley, and that door off the galley goes into my bedroom, a double cabin with ensuite wet room. I'm going to have a wet room on my new boat, so it was handy getting to try one out. She's an ex-Norfolk Broads hire boat. Further on down the boat, under here is the engine. And then at the back of the boat is David's room, another double cabin with ensuite wet room. And these double doors lead out to the back deck and give you wonderful views over the river. That's the Pipe Dream, our home for the trip.
Since you've been moaning about my rope.
It's always hard to set off again after a break, but we have a few more miles to do today. I think if we'd been on a narrowboat where you steer from outside, our lunch break would have turned into an overnighter. Some of the lock landings allow overnight mooring, and that was very tempting at that moment. Yeah, that locky was nice. It was pretty cute as well. Wow, look at that. Look at that. You wouldn't want to drive in there. Sorry, you wouldn't want a helm in there. Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Nearly there. Shall we play I Spy? I spy with my little eye something beginning with RL.
Railway line.
Ah, you got it.
Now, I've seen a lot of things on the water in my time, but this is a first. That's brilliant. As we approached Reading, it was clear we were getting to a more urban area. There was more graffiti on the walls and more plastic in the river. The weather was atrocious by now. I could hardly see where we were going, but we had made it to the last lock of the day and were going to moor up in the first available spot on the other side. Thankfully, we found somewhere very soon after the lock and settled down for an early night. Be sure to join us next time as we continue our trip along the Thames. But for now, as always, thank you for watching. You enjoying your summer holiday?
Oh, this is a great summer, isn't it? This is August, the sun is shining. No.